I would like to start for once in my life quite seriously, and it doesn't happen very often. Next Gen was invented by Marco Paroni, Julius Baer, and I at the beginning, and the idea was simply to bring the young generation, younger than 25, to learn something about classic cars. And this was very successful, and lots of father told me, I think about Rainer, for example, that is here, and I'm very happy that his daughter is the president of the Next Gen of this year. And he told me, oh, nice, so I can drive my daughters. Something happened then. This year we have something like 17 or 18 young generation racing. And this is a huge success, believe me. Usually classic cars are very well connected to old people and boring cars and blah, 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 blah. To have so many young around brought me, Julius Baer, Marco and I, to the idea that now we improve the Next Gen. Next Gen is changing this year for the first time, and this is our trial. And really, in these days, I will be emotional many times because, as you know, this is really my passion. But today is the most emotional day of my life in Passione Engadina because I think that all the people 61 like me say, the young generation, we need to help them. Do something. Do something. We try to do something. So we took the 9 person from the Next Gen of the last year. We asked them, you work alone. You look for 2 brands, 2 companies, 2 young people, and you invite them to present themselves. Here, you will be in front, good friends, of quite good people. Maybe you find some investor, maybe you can have some support. You stay with us these days, you experience. So today we present these 2 brands. I want to thank publicly Emilia Heiring, the president, and all the people of the Next Gen. You did an incredible job. Yeah, we are really proud, believe me. As a Julius Baer too, we are really proud of you and all your team that you have been working so well. So what we're going to do today, 10 minutes for the first brand, 10 minutes for the second brand, they sit down, and then we have a very nice talk with great people. I have, first of all, Yves Bonzon joining us, which is the Chief Investment Officer of Julius Baer, and very sporty. He's one of the most crazy bankers I've never met in my life. That's I want in the Next Gen. The second person is Thomas Schori, which is here with tight heart, and it's a very interesting person, very interesting guy. And of course, I'm honored to have, I tell you in front of all of you, I hope nobody gets angry. I'm 61. I had the honor to meet so many people all around the world. When I came home, Tekla, my wife, is here. I say to Tekla, I met for the first time a genius in my life, which is Mate Rimac. Mate Rimac is the new owner of Bugatti. Mate, thanks to join the panel session with us. So, the first speech, okay, are you ready? Lucia Schmidt and Charlotte Fuchs from Habitus. 10 minutes, it's your time, enjoy, please.
Okay. Hello, everybody. We are incredibly grateful to be here today. We're Charlotte and Lucia. And first, let me tell you something about the 2 of us, so you know who is standing in front of you today. So Charlotte and I, we both started studying right after we graduated from high school, and we are currently in our final year at Zeppelin University at Lake Constance, studying corporate management and economics. And we will finish our bachelor's degree in January 2023, so quite soon. And we're super excited because from there on, we can work for our company and heart project Habitus full-time. We're both quite young, so 22 and 21 years old, but still, I would describe ourselves as experts in the sustainable fashion industry and especially in the upcycling industry. Because we've been working in this industry for almost 2 years now, and it's quite a young industry, so we really had a huge impact on the development of it. So, as most companies do, we also have a problem we would like to solve. And I'm going to introduce this problem to you with a statement I'm sure you don't really want to hear today. So today we are all wearing at least one item of clothing which contributed to global warming and the waste of resources. And I'm sure by now you might have guessed what the problem is I'm talking about. It is the fashion industry and its contribution to global warming and the waste of resources. But Habitus has a solution for this. And I'm wearing the solution at the moment, because this shirt used to be an old man's shirt, like many of you are wearing today. And for the making of this shirt, no new materials and no new resources have been used. So now I have a second statement for you, and this time I'm sure you want to hear it. With clothes, we can express our values, show what we stand for, and what values we want to convey. And this is what we want to talk to you about today, because the first impression most of the time you have of people is the outfit they're wearing. And do I want my outfit and my clothes to scream that I don't care about the planet? I don't think so. I want my outfit to show what I stand for. And if I take myself as an example, two of the most important values I stand for are human dignity and fair working conditions. And with Habitus, I can show this to the outside, because Habitus offers sustainable statements which combine the saving of our resources, are made sustainably in Europe, and are at the same time damn stylish. So I've been already talking about the term of upcycling, and I'm sure many of you already know about upcycling, because there's been huge excitement about this term, especially in the fashion industry, in the last few years. And many companies, even LVMH, is jumping on the bandwagon and is building companies and startups in this industry. And for example, for this shirt, we saved 2,700 liters of water by producing this, only one single shirt. So how did we build a company and a business model behind this term of upcycling? Around 1 year ago, we launched our upcycling marketplace, which is called Habitus. And Habitus is meant to be a stage on the internet for young, emerging, and selected upcycling labels who can sell their products on our website and meet consumers who want to buy more sustainably. And we're very proud to announce that we currently count over 70 upcycling labels and over 2,000 different upcycling products on our website. And we get a commission rate of 30% per each product sold. But the marketplace was only the beginning for us, because we are the generation who must act now. And we wanted to make upcycling even bigger, even more scalable. So we launched just recently our own Habitus collection. And here we created a mood board for you where you can see some pieces of our own collections, just like the blouse I'm wearing today, or different designs of the blouses. And we also have upcycled knitwear made from upcycled yarn. And we have sustainable t-shirts, which are by far the most sustainable t-shirt you'll meet, because it's 100% compostable. And we're very proud that Next Gen is wearing one of our t-shirt designs to this event.
So now that you know about Habitus, you might ask yourself, how do they will make money? We have 3 pillars through which we generate money. First of all is the commission rate. As a marketplace, we get 30% of every product which is sold over Habitus. The next one is, as already Lucy introduced to you, the Habitus collection. So with our own collection, we can prove that Habitus, or that upcycling, not is only unique, it also can be scalable. One example from the past is we collaborated with luxury hotels, got their old bed line, which would be thrown away other ways, and made luxury blouses made out of these luxury blouses. So, last but not least, our last pillar is the B2B market. It's a B2B market because we are not only producing unique pieces, we are also producing scalable pieces. Like you, Lucy already mentioned, the compostable t-shirts. We can offer a higher number of products. So you know about us, you know about Habitus, and you know about how we make money, but who are our persona? We split it into the B2B market and the B2C market. At the B2B market, we are focusing on young companies, especially in the sustainability scene. But we are also more than happy if we can bring companies in a more sustainable way. At the B2Z market, we are focusing on the age between 20 and 30 years. They live a sustainable lifestyle, have a high academic degree, and an academic interest. So because of our age, we often get asked, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? And actually, we always can present this best by showing you this mood board. When you look at this mood board, you see a lot of color, emotion, and just a good vibe. And this is exactly what we want to create with Habitus. We want to show that sustainable, to consume responsible, can be easy, can make fun, and the most important part, it is stylish. So we are both young, our company is young, but we have a vision with which we want to grow old. We want to change it that consuming responsible can be easy and just is normal to everyone. Now, we are more than thankful that we can be here today and could present our vision to you. And last but not least, we are more than thankful to NextGen and Passione Engadina that they choose us as the NextGen startup. And they asked us, how can the Passione Engadina family help you? How can they support you? And actually, the easiest ways to support us is to tell your family, tell your friends, and your inner circle about us, about our vision and what we want to change with upcycling. Also, if you have a next event or your company needs new merchandise, think about us and our 100% compostable t-shirts. Also, we are always searching for new materials for a new upcycling project. So if you have any materials which would be thrown away otherwise, connect us. Last but not least, we are finishing our bachelor degrees in 2032 in January. So from there on, we are focusing full-time on Habitus, and we are still looking for a business angel who are supporting us financially, but also with knowledge. Now we hope we have been able to spark a little bit of our drive to you, and we are more than thankful, and let's celebrate an amazing weekend together.
You make me proud tonight. So all the young people, younger than 25, sorry for the speakers. Mate, you will have it. And Thomas, Yves, you will have it because you are the speaker. You asked me, how is your money for the speak? Yes, one T-shirt from the lady. I'm very proud to introduce you our T-shirt realized from Habitus and the name of Julius Baer and Passione Engadina. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now, it's nice, eh? When you see these people, the passion that they tell us, they bring us, of course, it's full of dream, it's full of energy. And I'm very proud that Passione Engadina can be a platform of that. And once more, Philip, Yves, Marco, not kidding, thanks for believing in this, because it's not easy to have a bank believing in such a project, believe me. So the second one is a crazy guy who wants to bring back the arts everywhere, is Amir Akhta. It's your turn, 10 minutes to enjoy.
Oh, there's a lot more people than I thought it would be. Nice. Perfect. Hi, my name is Amir. I'm the founder of Return on Art, a curated marketplace for contemporary art in Vienna. Over the next couple of minutes, I just want to share what we do, tell you a bit more about the company, how it started, give you an honest overview. It's not a pitch. And maybe share some funny stories. So, so like any good story, we're just going to start at the beginning. My name is Amir. I was born and raised in Vienna, Austria. I never really had a big passion for art, if I can be very, very honest from the start. Honestly, growing up in Vienna as a teenager, it's quite hard to develop a passion for art. The market there is very antiquated, it's very small, and it's not very inclusive. But when I moved to London to study business... Okay. When I moved to London to study business at the age of 18, it really sparked my interest, and I started to develop a proper passion for it. And there the market is much bigger, there's super vibrant events, and surprisingly, it's also very inclusive for privileged business school students, which I found interesting. So I ended up combining my passion and my studies together, and I wrote my bachelor thesis about innovation in the art market. Now, my dissertation had two very good outcomes, or two important points. First of all, that Unfortunately, galleries all over the world are closing at an unprecedented speed. Keep in mind that was 2019. And they still are, obviously, unfortunately. And that the gallery system is a bit outdated and it doesn't align with current consumer behavior trends. The second thing is that when you look at the art market, it is surprising to see that it is profoundly the last proper market that's predominantly offline. Again, 2019. So with those two ideas, with those two factors in mind, I basically had the courage to start the company right out of university, moved back to Vienna, and I started the business in September 2019. Now, when we speak about companies or startups as a general, it's always very, timing is probably the most crucial thing, and whether success or failure, regardless. For us, for some magical reasons, it ended up being just spot on and magical, because we got the company in September 2019. I hired a couple of people. We had the platform. We started selling. But we were selling. I was proud of myself back then. But we were selling 4 artworks a month, and that was already a reason to celebrate 4 times a month. But for some magical reason, in early 2019, luckily for our business and unluckily for the world, a Chinese person decided to eat a bat, which resulted in a global pandemic, unfortunately. But during that time, without changing anything and without adding any new artists, we suddenly started to triple sales every single month organically. And everything was moving so fast. Those are the actual revenue figures. It's a bit confidential, but don't take pictures. But anyway, everything started to move very fast. We started to triple on a monthly basis. Suddenly, we were making hundreds of thousands of euros a month and selling to 53 countries. We sold 2,000 artworks to 1,500 collectors. But I didn't know why. Everything was moving so fast. I honestly thought I was the smartest person in the entire art world. And like any good story, it wouldn't be a good story if there was a plot twist. So we were able to 10x 2 years in a row and generate, honestly, tremendous amounts of revenue and grow the business and basically prove that selling art online is a viable business. Yeah. Even the professor that I submitted my bachelor thesis for told me it's a well-written document, Amir, but it's not a business. Come on, don't fool yourself. Go to Julius Baer, you'll have a much better time there. And I didn't do it, obviously. but yeah, so ultimately, it wouldn't be a good story if there wasn't a plot twist. Two profound things happened at the end of 2021, which drastically changed the business. The first thing is that one of the artists that we had put a lot of emphasis on, because we were still trying to figure out our market gap, even though we were making a lot of money, we still didn't know exactly how it's going to turn out. So we were testing a lot of things, and there was one artist that we put a lot of emphasis in, and she decided to drop out of the contract. It was a worldwide exclusivity, and she basically decided to drop out. First punch in the face, basically, but something that you have to endure. And the second thing, just 2 months after that, our Instagram account was shut off, and it had almost 300,000 followers, but the most important thing is that the community that we had built of artists and of collectors, because that Instagram account alone was contributing half of the company's revenue without ads. So it was obviously a substantial loss when we lost it. We still don't know why. Our legal team is actually mailing letters to Meta once a week, but obviously we're not going to get a reply. But basically, equipped with getting punched in the face twice within 90 days, I honestly thought the music was going to stop soon and that I would actually have to apply for a real job soon. Thank God we have very good investors on board, and we just decided to drastically pull the handbrake and restructure everything. We were able to turn the business around very fast, stay lean. And there's one very important, that's actually a quote, but I didn't want to put it quote unquote. Those 4 words are actually impacted me in a very profound way, because one of our investors is the head of strategy at Google. And one day he calls me at 7 in the morning and says, Amir, how are you doing? And before I even can answer, he says, you know what, I don't have a lot of time. Let me tell you one thing. Never waste a crisis. And I tell him, well, what do you mean? it's terrible, it's shit. I'm so, excuse my French. It's just not a nice time. He says, never waste a crisis. Did you really think that you're gonna start a business, be lucky and suddenly sell a lot, and that it's gonna stay like this for 10 years and that you're gonna retire at the age of 25? Obviously it's not gonna stay that way, yeah? I still hope that might be that way, but as we learned, it's not. Yeah, so basically, we ended up restructuring the entire business. It gave us a lot of clarity to basically strip everything that's not necessary, and that's one of the biggest takeaways that I have from that crisis, that you look at it you have a very clear mindset when you get punched in the face twice. You see very clearly what's important, what isn't, and you're able to strip it away. And it gave us a lot of clarity to also develop the product in a better way. And that leads us to where we are now. So practically the most important question, what is return on art, and what do we do, and how are we going to change the art market as a whole? We are a curated marketplace for contemporary art. What does curated mean? Curated is selecting artists that basically apply, because you don't want to be Amazon for art or Etsy for art and allow everybody to sell the work. The only problem is that it's a manual task. During that crisis, we found a way to scale that by creating a 3-sided marketplace and by allowing established curators to onboard them into our marketplace and allow them to make money in the online art world for the first time. But basically, as a whole, it's our vision to democratize the art market, to bring the mindset of to buy art and to support artists on a global stage to the next generation, and to help artists to make a living. And I mean, if I could just tell you a bit about the sort of features. From a collector standpoint, it's a no-brainer, because we're the one marketplace that allows you to buy art that's been handpicked by experts. You can always track the value of your portfolio or of the artwork that you've bought, and you can resell it within a click of a button, literally. And that's also the problem that we want to change, because everybody says art is an investment. Yes, it is, but it's a highly illiquid one, and we want to change that. And from the other side, from the artist side, it's a very fair way to make money, honestly. I mean, so far we've paid almost 2.2 million euros in net salaries to our artists, and you can assume that most of them live from it full-time, so we're basically like their employer. We charge half as much as the gallery, because we don't have the same sort of cost structure, because we don't have to exhibit works and stuff. But it's basically our goal to support artists on a global stage, allow people to get into, connect with those artists, buy their work, and to basically revolutionize the way how art is bought and sold. Yeah, that's what we do. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
So, yes, thank you. If you can stay, Amir, 1 second. Mate, can you come, because I think Amir has a gift for you.
Oh, yeah, true.
Please, please, please. Because as all the young generation get the T-shirts, Mate, as a young generation, please, Amir, it's up to you. Pictures. He brought an artist, an Italian artist from Viareggio, who makes in Samoritz and Atalante Bugatti for you. So we put in the Chiron. I know there is a lot of place, no problem. So now let me say that I'm more than honored, and this time I'm, of course, no love, the honor to listen to the forewords speaker of Mr. Yves Bonzon, Chief Investment Officer of Julius Baer, a great friend of our event, and a visionary. Thank you very much for your forewords. Then the talks. Please, Yves Bonzon.
Thank you, Paolo, and amazing stories. Congratulations to all three of you. It's fascinating. I think there's one number that should make you click. As we were preparing the session with Paolo, Thomas shared the number which really struck me, and I speak under his responsibility. 75% of the clothes that are displayed in shops that you visit end up being destroyed, recycled or not. Only 25% apparently are consumed. I mean, the number is just shocking. Huh? So we waste a lot, and it's time to think different. Let me share with you briefly, before we have the interactive session, the talk, a few thoughts on next generation, why it's so important to us, you know. I was once next generation. At the time, I was working in Geneva, and I was asked to join the investment committee of the bank. I was 25. And so everyone sitting at the table, they were 45, 50, the youngest, 55 and more. And they all grew up in the inflationary 60s and 70s. And they got the fundamental direction of history completely wrong. They thought inflation was coming back, not even tomorrow, but actually this afternoon. They thought yields at 6% were an all-time low. We went all the way to zero, even sometimes negative, as you know. And I had the luck of the beginners, you know, because I got that trend right. And eventually, at age 33, I was the CIO of a multi-billion franchise. To be honest, they were completely unconscious to give me that job at that age, but that's another story. Better lucky than smart. Next Gen was born at Julius Baer probably 10, 11 years ago, Marco, roughly. Yeah, three young analysts in JB Research, Jazzy, Chinese, born and grown in China, but studied in Lausanne. Warren, an Australian living in Switzerland, and Fabiano, a Ticinese. And they came up with this idea of developing a line of research, thematic, really thinking about long-term structural trend, and that's so important. When I joined the bank shortly after, they knocked on my door and they said, oh, we want to turn that into a fund. We want to make it investable, you know. And I was by then already an old chap, and I was like, okay, I've seen so many of these ideas that fail. They kept trying and knocked on my door, I think, for at least 6 months. And eventually we turned it into an investment fund. You know, it's $1 billion fund today. It's 5-star Morningstar, the highest rating you can get from Morningstar. So it's one of our flagship investment strategy. We invest in broadly defined five structural trends: raising Asia, digital disruptions of multiple kinds, the energy transition, feeding the world, and shifting lifestyle. That includes also genomics, the rise of data in life science. I've always been curious about innovation. You know, I think there is so much merit in creative destruction, and that's why the next generation is so important, because when you're young, you're fearless. You know, you try, you disrupt, you challenge, you bring new idea. It's very difficult to disrupt oneself, you know, so there's benefit to experience, but it also inhibits your risk-taking and the perspective you look at things. Recently, we dived very deep into the circular economy. It's a fascinating topic. We have the expert on battery recycling with Mate tonight with us. You know, some people think there will be unlimited demand for metals for the electrification, but actually there is a very, very nascent metal recycling industry that is developing to recycle the likes of lithium and other key metals for battery. This is difficult to invest at this point, but this is becoming investable. So it takes patience to invest in innovation. It takes courage, because you have setbacks, you know. I was in 1994 at the origin of the launch of a biotech fund. And the idea was very simple at the time. You could see that the pharma industry was transitioning from chemical molecules to bio-engineered molecules. More recently, we've transitioned, it's early days, to messenger RNA. We were actually seed investor in Moderna, round G, 32 million. The company was, to a large extent, as some of you I'm sure know, seeded in Switzerland. Why? Because we thought this is so disruptive. You know, if this works, and of course it's difficult, there are so many technology hurdles, but if this works, this is exponential, you know. And the world is not linear. Life is not linear, it's exponential. You should think big, you know. The last point I would like to make before I conclude is a friend of mine recently told me, look, Yves, the way I look at life is very early. I was roughly 14, 15. I realized if I live 100 years, I have 36,000 days in my life. And I don't want to waste any of those, you know. When you start counting the number of days that you have, you manage that like your budget, you know. You think every day you have to enjoy, leverage, and take advantage of. So it's very, very important. Finally, of course, communities gathering together is extremely important to us. Julius Baer, you can turn the slide, thank you. Not quite 10 years ago, was a founding sponsor of Formula E because the management at the time saw the potential for this new discipline. People would have maybe thought that watching electric car racing is boring, but anyone who has attended one of those E-Prix can testify it's a lot of fun. It's actually the proximity, because this is in the heart of the cities. We have the experts with us, Marco, so if you have questions about the next season, Generation 3 cars, he's the person to go to. Thank you very much, and with that I hand over back to Paolo. Thank you.
So now we have a panel session where I talk with my guest, and sorry, Thomas, if I start with Mate first. And Mate is 34 years old, born in 1988. And can you tell us just two numbers of your company, because before I start with the first question, please? Actual number.
Random numbers. Well, 1,500 employees. Probably that was a few months ago, so probably a lot more now. Started in 2009 when I was 21, but I started before that in my garage. Long story. You know the story, but I won't bother with that now. And now it's valued at 2.2 billion. We raised 900 million euros. Yeah.
How to believe in yourself so much? You start in believing on a project, believing on a chance, having so many problems at the beginning, finding investors, but never giving up.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, I think there is a few keys to that. Like, one is I really was super passionate about it. Like, I'm a car guy from all my life, and I did this because I wanted to see the idea I had in my head materialize. And that's actually the Nevera today. It's like the materialization of my dream from 15 years ago, our new car. So it's really, it wasn't about money, it wasn't about anything else. I just wanted to make that thing. And the second one is I had nothing to lose. What did I have to lose? So whatever, I could always go back to live with my parents if I lose everything. So, I had no family and, nothing else to lose. And whenever I was, we had a really tough time to start a company, and like the first 7 years I never had the money to pay the next salary. I guess, Marco, I begged you also sometimes for money. And everybody I knew at some point got approached by me. We were in so many situations, like on the brink, where we should have gone bankrupt, and like I couldn't pay suppliers or whatever. But often I got motivation, like walking through the company. Like, look at all of these people, what they are doing, it's amazing, and like, this must work. Like, it's really cool what they're doing. It makes sense. Like, the future is there. Maybe people don't believe in it now. Now it's easy to talk about electric cars, but in 2009, 10, 11, 12, it was very, very different. Everybody thought I was insane doing this, including my family and my friends. You have to have. It's not enough to have a good product or whatever. You have to have really, endurance. It's really a marathon.
But when did you understand that it was the right time, that you were achieving the goal, or you starting achieving the goal? When it happened? When you say no to the Arabian money?
Well, everybody thinks I'm like surprised by the success or something. Well, first of all, I don't think it's success yet. Like, I have very defined what, chapter 1 is, and when chapter 1 is done, it's still not there. So I don't consider ourselves success yet, despite all of these numbers and despite everything else what's going on. but I had very high targets from the beginning. When I look at my business plan from 2011-12, when I started the company, we are pretty much there. So I didn't have a small ambition. I just thought some things would be a lot easier and faster and with less people and so on. Maybe a turning point was when Porsche invested, a real turning point.
Okay.
Porsche never invested in another company, so when they first invested in us, there was like this stamp of approval. And yeah, I would say the last 2 years have been very specific for me because I didn't have to worry how to pay the next salary. That was very unique for me.
And because you have a lot of Bugatti lovers in this, and of course they are waiting for the first Mate Rimac Bugatti that will be 25, 26, I can imagine, if I'm not wrong. And they are all terrified that it will be a full electric Bugatti. But I can tell you that I have the feeling that you fully respect the legend and the legacy of the brand. You are sitting on one of the most iconic brands of the world. Yeah. 34 years old.
You know, we are sitting on the shoulders of giants. Ettore Bugatti has done these amazing cars in the first half of the last century. Then Romano Artioli with the EB10, 110. And then the Volkswagen era with basically Ferdinand Piech and all the directors, Winkelmann and so on, with the Veyron and Chiron and Gentilieci and so on. So, you know, I'm a petrol head. I'm not a tree hugger. You know, of course, I'm very much about...
I have one collector who's already breathing a lot. Okay, good.
Yeah. So, I mean, I care a lot about the environment, but about real things. I always say, if you really care about the environment, don't drive an electric car, but stop eating meat. Or maybe buy less shirts or buy upcycled shirts, you know. It seems like, you know, you can save a lot of resources by doing that. So I fully understand the passion, or I'm starting to understand the passion for Bugatti. I have like a bunch of books that I still need to read, but being a petrol head, I was always fascinated by the brand. And actually, when this whole idea happened about taking over Bugatti, and that's a long story how that happened, Porsche told me, and Volkswagen, like the next car needs to be electric. And that would be the easiest for me, because we have the Nevera, which is like an electric Bugatti, basically. It's like the most powerful car in the world, fast accelerating. You can make it easily into a Bugatti. And that would be the easiest thing for me. It's like, you know, a couple of years of work. But I was fighting furiously with them, trying to convince them that it doesn't have to be, it shouldn't be electric, actually. So I did. I have a thick head and, you know, go through walls. So the next Bugatti is not going to be electric. It's going to be electrified, yes. It's going to be a hybrid. But I believe that combustion engines still have an important role.
It's time for an applause, please. Please. Thank you. Okay, let me introduce the second speakers, then I come back to you, Yves. And it's a nice story, and Mate and Yves has just met Thomas Schori from Tide Ocean Materials. Marco Paroni told me you should talk to this gentleman from Basel. He comes from a very good family, working, he will explain better, in the watch industry, doing something really out of ordinary. And I say, okay, Thomas, please join us, and I'm very happy you are here. And how old are you, Thomas?
42.
42. When did you start Tide Hearth?
I would say at the kitchen table of my family at age, I don't know, like 16, when we finished studies and everything. Actually started immediately in the family business.
Okay, your family makes business in the watch industry, right?
Yes, we're producing watch components. So actually a kind of a boring business, but my dad always say that's a success. If people don't find your product interesting, you can earn money with it. And we have opened factories in China, in Thailand, in Burma. Myself, I was living more than 10 years in Hong Kong and China. So very early I was sent to the entrepreneurship, yeah.
So at the family company, you decide to open Tide Hearth.
Yeah, and as you know, when you wake up in a nice bed and in a nice car, my dad always said, hey, you were born in a Mercedes, so you have to work. And that always challenged myself, said, okay, now it's my turn, I need to prove him that we're right. Our family works on a quite high ethical standard, so business ethics in business is key. It's not only ethics for people, it's ethics for the planet, ethics for partners. And the environment was always a certain topic. And when we saw in the news that huge plastic pollution problem and the mismanagement of waste or general overconsumption, we thought, could be a business. But let's find out first if we can turn that into a business. And then, as we had no clue about plastics, we said, okay, we need to talk to people who know about plastics. So we met with the Swiss University of Applied Science and said, hey, look at those news, look at those pictures, can we use that plastic? And everyone said, no, that's trash, don't touch it. It's trash is mafia, don't do it. And then still we said, no, it's chemical. Plastic is chemicals, it's molecules, right? And I wasn't that good in chemistry, but for me it was clear, like, the longer a molecular chain is, the better is the composite. So we then started to study a bachelor degree of 2 students during 2 years, and finally we had the proof of concept that that huge amount of plastic waste basically can be upcycled into new virgin raw material, at almost the same price.
And how did you develop the company? Easily, which is the concept? How do you work?
Okay, we understood that we can never ever fight against the big plastic industry, against the oil lobby. There is no way they're going to defend their business. They will laugh at you, so there's no chance unless you have like unlimited resources of money, and this we didn't have. So we then said we need to build a nice story around. We should not sell plastic. Plastic should only be the side product. We should sell a story. And then we immediately understood that the value is not only the plastic itself, it's as well in the local communities. So we understood that we need to pay the people to collect the plastic for us, like local fishermen. They're suffering from less and less fish. And thank you for the picture. They have less and less fish income from fishing. And we said, okay, how about on my trip to Thailand, I said, hey, how about if I pay you $1 per kilo plastic? Because this is what he gets for the fish. And then he said, yeah, of course, then I bring you plastic. And then we had the first link in our puzzle was the social impact. So we create value for the community. And then we said, okay, then let's continue that impact program. Besides the environment, of course, it's the most important impact. But then we brought local industry in it. We trained them on the process, on an open source protocol, how to bring it back to virgin level. And thanks to the ecosystem I have with all the brands and many stock market brands, luckily, we could directly contact the CEOs and CMOs and say, look, you have the perfect marketing product with the perfect traceability, with the perfect solution for the same price.
What could you do, for example, for the automotive industry?
We have to differentiate between plastic and composite. So plastic can be polyester, for example, like Habitus is using for the apparel, so like for interior. But composite is actually something which is security relevant. You have a lot of restrictions in the automobile industry about fire, about UV, about melting point, etc. So we need to develop a specific composite for the automotive industry, which we are, by the way, currently doing with a huge German cockpit manufacturer. And we're still under NDA, it's in process, but...
And you told me that from the QR, I can recognize on my car where the plastic comes from, right?
Exactly. So thanks to the traceability we did from day one through blockchain, we can actually find the exact way of the plastic took from the fisherman down into an interior of a car.
Yves, I have a question for you. You have seen new potential companies, 2 young entrepreneurs. What is the role of the bank? Sorry if I make it I wouldn't say unfair question, but a very simple question. Many times we say it's hard to find the money. Sometimes it's not easy to talk with the bank. Which is the role of a bank, like a Julius Baer, for example? How can recognize entrepreneurship?
Well, I think, first of all, in a bank like Julius Baer, you meet a lot of people, you see a lot of information, you're exposed to a lot of deal flow. And you can get the people to know each other, to consider working together. So there's a club value proposition to do business with a bank like Julius Baer. And of course, many ideas were constantly bombarded with emails asking to consider investing in the companies. What strikes me the most in this conversation is the people, you know. And you learn investing, you learn the math first and the arithmetics of investing, etc. But then at some point, you realize it's all about people. And what distinguishes an average or a mediocre investment opportunity from a great one are the sponsors, usually. You know, I mentioned Moderna. You look at the board, there's Bob Langer on the board. By the way, he still owns a substantial chunk of the company. You want to be sitting at the same table.
Mate, I have a question for you. How do you see all these stories about electrification of the cars? There is a long talks around the world, and Tatsuko Toyoda went to the Japanese parliament making an incredible speech telling to the Japanese parliament, are you crazy? Do you really think? Then I wrote somewhere that the young people from Tel Aviv found a way to recharge batteries in 4 minutes. That's been bought. And how do you see this future? Everybody is talking about the electrification of the cars.
Yeah. For me, to be honest, that's really snow from last year, from 5 years ago. Like everybody's talking about it like it's a new thing, but like that's a done deal. That's finished. That's like there's no discussion anymore. Like, and the world has really changed in the last few years. Like maybe 5 years ago, I would still have these discussions, and people were like, "Yeah, maybe, let's see," you know. But now, I mean, we really see what's going on behind the curtains, you know. I mean, that's also personally for me a big deal. Like outside of, you know, creating basically the future for Rimac cars and Bugatti cars, which is amazing. But also, you know, I used to go to Geneva Auto Show, Frankfurt Auto Show as a kid, and, you know, because I was growing up in Frankfurt, and wondering what's behind the curtains, what's going to come, and reading about the prototypes. And now I know what's behind the curtain and what will be there in 5 years for BMW, because we are developing the battery for them or whatever. And I can tell you, it has changed from everybody pretending to go electric to everybody going electric. And, you know, all in, full throttle, you know, no doubt. Big guys like Volkswagen, Mercedes, everybody's going full electric. The legislators are there, and that's a big change in the last 2 years. It's crazy. I don't know if it's COVID or Greta or whatever happened, but it's real, like, but in every aspect, you know, and that's great for you guys, like, because impact investing is becoming, you know, ESG and so on. Investors setting up funds that are, you know, solely dedicated to green causes, ESG and stuff like that. So that's really like, you know, beyond any discussion. We don't need to talk about it. What is concerning me is, I think if we just replace every car one for one, like one combustion engine car with one electric car, we haven't done anything. We didn't do anything. No impact. I mean, it's so crazy how people don't recognize some so basic things, like, for example, that a shirt creates 9,000 liters of wastewater. I mean, crazy. Or how much a steak creates CO2 emissions. Or how in 2020, 90% of traffic stopped. No airplanes, no cars, no trucks going around for months. We can never have that impact with electric cars, never in 100 years. And you know how much emissions reduced in 2020? 7%. 7%. So replacing combustion engine cars with electric cars will change nothing. I tell you, nothing. And that's what I'm living off. That's what you know, how I pay my bills is by making electric cars, and I say that publicly, and I'm like talking to a wall. What will really change is, I mean, I think, you know, the industrial revolution happened just 150 years ago, so we still can go on for some time like this. And a lifetime of a human is too short to feel it. We don't feel that within our lifetime we have reduced the number of fish in the ocean by 70%. We don't feel that. We don't feel that within a lifetime it has changed from being 90% non-human biomass, basically 100 years ago, and 10% human biomass to being 90% human biomass, so humans and our, let's say, animals, so cows, pigs, chicken. So 90% of live things today are, live because of humans. All of that has so changed in 100 years, but we don't feel it yet. So we can still go on like this for maybe our generation. Maybe that's fine. But, just going with electric cars and, that kind of stuff, it's very cosmetic. I don't think that will really, we might also accept to live in a completely different world, where there is no wild animals, where there's no wildlife, where there's no fish in the ocean, where everything you eat is artificially grown, and we will probably have to accept it. That's another world. So, going to electric cars, I went a little bit off, is just a small, very, very, very tiny drop in the ocean, in my view. What we can do with transport, my view, beyond electric cars, is really the change in way we use cars. So that's something we are working on under the radar a lot. That's, let's say, my chapter 2, personally, as a person. I'm not talking about Bugatti. Bugatti will stay what it is, the pinnacle of the automotive industry. But what I really think is going to be important is that we use the assets better. Because a car today is 2 tons of aluminum, plastic, copper, and lots of emissions that we have used to produce that product, and we use it for 3% of the time. So it's the second largest asset in your life after your house or your flat, whatever, but you use it only 3% on average. So what will happen? You will not drive the cars anymore, which is something that we might be horrified here in this room, but to be honest, I was driving, my wife Katarina and I were driving from Zagreb to here, and from Zagreb to Bergamo, it was boring. I would have preferred to not drive, and I was in a Bugatti, but the road.
Then you get the Swiss police entering Switzerland.
But actually, that was the nice part. From Bergamo to here, it was fun. So I think most of the time we don't like to drive, but sometimes we like to drive. Yes. So self-driving will be a thing, and not owning the car anymore, so that the car is being used instead of 3% to use it like 70% of the time. So I think that would be really the change in transport. But to be honest, there might be a lot bigger impacts in terms of transportation that's not coming from cars at all. Like, unfortunately, that's not the life I want to live, but more and more things are happening virtually. People are not going to go to work in many cases anymore. They are not going to socialize, not going to meet, they will be online and so on. So that might actually have a bigger impact on society and transportation than absolute electrification. As I said, electrification is, I think, a small thing. A bigger thing is the, let's say, new mobility and new ownership. But I think also an important factor is the change in society and behaviors of people.
Thank you. Thomas, how not to remain just a dreamer? I mean, you have a company fighting against a huge problem. How to go every day to the office and say, okay, I do my job, I do my things, also knowing that is a small part of it.
Yeah, actually, it's I think the biggest skill. So the feasibility we have proven. So the fact is the product exists. I think the biggest skill is to change people's daily habits. It's just that people understand that we should stop over-consuming. We should maybe consume a bit less, but more in quality.
Oh, you were looking at me. That was worried.
No. I mean, it's like I see it in my side. What plastic waste I create at home with my family and my wife. It's like, but we're somehow forced from the industry, and always thought, okay, this we cannot change, because I need to get my meat from the butcher or from the counter in a plastic bag, because plastic is an incredible product. It's like good to protect food, it's good to cool, it's good to freeze, it's an excellent innovation. We simply need to control the circular, that it gets back to the same product, this typical bottle-to-bottle concept. And I hope by training all the brands and kind of acting like a teacher and say, look, just circle that product. And I think it may take 5 years, maybe 10 years, maybe my son one day will take over, maybe we get once a big investor that they say, okay, let's push that. Because just a quick number, I don't want to shoot numbers to you, but it's like 350 million tons of plastic are produced every year. Incredible amount. Only 10% gets recycled, between 7 and 10%. Means every year 300 million tons of plastic end up somewhere. So now let's take the business focus. That's 300 million tons of money somewhere. Current price for virgin plastic is between 1 and 2 euro per kilo, depending on the quality. If it's a composite, like the one for the car, is a bit more expensive. But that's like 300 million tons. That's 300 billion of value. If we take 2 euro, it's 600 billion business. So already when we take 10% of that problem, it's a huge business. And I think when the industry and the big guys understand that this is a business, it automatically changes into a circular economy. But it hasn't arrived yet. Maybe it's a generation change. Like you mentioned when you were in Geneva with the 45, 50 years old guys. It's like maybe I'm at this stage now. I need to convince the 60-year-olds, and maybe I need to turn 60 to meet a 40-year-old. I don't know, I hope not, but I know we're doing it right. I know we're doing something good, and let's simply work hard, and then it will come.
So now it's time for, if you have Q&A moment, if you have questions for our speakers, or one of our speakers want to make a question to other speakers, please feel free. And if it's not the case, if there is one, please, if you can raise the hands. We always adore the first one. You get a check of 1,000 Swiss francs for that. And but if you have question, please use. You don't have so many times the chance to have such another. Bernard Frackner from Globair, please. And our lovely sponsors, jet planes, so it's open.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. Bold statements of both of you, I fully support and appreciate. The question is, and this is a question myself a lot when I talk to my daughter, what can we do to change the mindset, you know, to shift the mindset in big scale? Because when we see right now how our current world leaders treating the crisis just next door and not tackling those big questions and hiding behind, I don't know what, maybe behind a big wall, as Matti said. But what can we all do to change the mindset in a big scale? Because I think this is what needed.
Thank you, thank you, Bernard. Who wants to try to answer? Mate, Thomas, Yves?
Yeah, that's a really difficult one. You know, like, for example, I come from a place, from Bosnia, where you measure the size of the celebration in the number of lamb you have killed for that celebration. Like, oh, there was 9 lamb. Oh, it was a good party. Like, it was a big party. So you eat like meat 3 times a day. And when I stopped eating meat, like, my family was like, what's wrong with him? You know, like my father and my family still makes fun of me because of that. So, and I, you know, try to not be, how would I say, militant about it. You know, I don't blame other people and so on, but I like to say sometimes some facts. And I see how people get upset about it. And I'm very public in Croatia, so every grandma will recognize my face. And sometimes I speak up about those things and participate in things like some conferences and stuff like that, because I think that's like one of the easiest, you know, that's the easiest change. Like, to make electric cars, you need to transform a whole industry. You need to dig out different stuff from the ground. You need this whole supply chain. You need to build factories. You need to completely turn around one of the biggest industries in the world, invest billions and billions and billions, but there's such an easy choice. You just stop eating meat. And I did it in one day and decided to not eat it anymore and so on. But people feel offended. They feel attacked. Like, you are telling me that I'm not moral, or that I'm doing something wrong, or whatever. And you know, that's like, in my view, that's the biggest change a person can make. And by the way, Einstein and Nikola Tesla were saying the same. It's the single biggest change you can make. And people are not ready to do it, and I accept it. I accept it, it's fine. My people that are very close to me and my family members, they also didn't change, and that's fine. But if you know, it becomes almost a religious discussion. And you know, how do you say to somebody who loves fashion, don't buy any more new clothes? Or walk in the same shoes for 5 years? Or have one car, you know, to people here in this room? So, you know, it's big choices to do. And like, I'm willing to give up meat, but I'm not willing to give up cars. So, yeah, I think we are all guilty, kind of. You know, we are consumers, and we are in the rich part of the world, and probably in the 1% of the world. So, yeah, I don't know. There is no answer to that. I think until you get really punched hard in the face, you will just do cosmetic things. Punched hard in the face meaning, you know, when there is a big problem and you don't have electricity anymore, society collapses, there's no police around, the supermarkets don't work. Before that, honestly, I don't see it happening quickly. I think it will be a generational change. That's my a little bit not optimistic, honest opinion.
Good. Thomas, please.
Maybe about, I think one point is important. We created the damage, or let's say the last 2 generations created the damage. And to your question, I don't think we can solve it, but the next generation can solve it. So it's on us to educate the next generation. And I'm not talking about the Gen Z. They're already too old. They're creating damage. The young ones, the school systems, and not only in a privileged country like Switzerland, it's like globally. So politics and governments need to take action. We need to train the kids when they grow up from day one that they need to care the environment. You get a parking ticket or a speeding ticket when you drive too fast, but you don't get a ticket when you create waste. So I would say it's a government thing, it's an educational thing, and when we train next generation, the generation after can solve it. But in our case, I think the only solution is currently consume less and educate the next one, because it takes time to solve.
Yves, do you want to say something, or it's okay?
Well, yeah, I think we should limit as much as we can our consumption of mainstream media news, because they brainwash all of us. If you survey people on the street in St. Maurice or in Zurich, they all believe electric cars are a game changer for the environment, which they are not. And there are so many such preconceived ideas and myths. And finally, on the political side, and some of us have a chance to engage with politicians, you know, when they design regulation, they should really do that with the greatest care, you know. Not like to give you an example that is tragic, you know, the German government has stimulated the purchase of hybrid cars with subsidies, tax rebate, etc., only to find out that the German consumer have bought these cars, but not the chargers. So they drive hybrids with 100 kilos of batteries empty, you know, and in the process they emit more CO2 and burn more fuel because the car is heavier, you know. So, I mean, they should think twice. It's not rocket science to try to make regulations that are properly incentivizing people.
Okay, I would say...
Maybe just one thing there. You reminded me of one good thing. And I think Elon Musk has proposed a good concept. Tax on CO2. There's no punishment currently for ruining the environment. So you can, you know, pollute the air as much as you want, pollute the groundwaters, whatever. No repercussion. And I think CO2 tax is actually a great concept, because then, you know, your shirt will be a lot cheaper than a new shirt. A salad will be a lot cheaper than a steak. Currently, it's like crazy that a vegetarian diet is actually cheaper, more expensive than meat, which doesn't make any sense, because to get 1 calorie in meat, you need like 20 calories of food for the animal, which is vegetable. So it doesn't make any sense. So I think CO2 emission is a good government-driven incentive to help.
Is there another question? If not, we leave you free, please, if there is someone. If not, if it's not the case, okay, I would like to tell you one word from my side. I'm very honored of this speech. I'm no one. I just put the people together. This was the dream of my life. I'm able to bring people together and to listen to them and to learn every day from them. And my idea from the real beginning for Passione Engadina is, yes, we are a car event. Lovely. I love the cars, as you know. But also a place where the people can meet, can talk. And I'm very proud that thanks with Julius Baer and this kind of panel, we can give a chance also to talk about the future. Also our passion, of course. Sorry, a little bit polluting in the moment, but we do 1,500 kilometers per year is nothing. And I'm very proud of this speech of today. So let me thank all my panel, Mate Rimac, Thomas Schori, Yves Bonzon, Julius Baer, Marco to celebrate. Thank you, all the best, and support these guys. Last word. Letizia Chiarella is the new president of the jury for the next year. We are absolutely waiting for your job and for your committee. So good job. Thanks, Emilia, to open up. Very two good speakers. Thank you once more. 8 o'clock, the dinner. Sorry, where is... we take away the meat on the matter dish. And, but you make me be very lot of collectors of Bugatti in this room today. Believe me, you have more than a friend, more than a new friend. Thank you very much. Very proud of this panel session. Thank you.